Today is our first ever Education on Air conference with 46 Hangouts happening, leading discussions on a number of topics in education technology. We want to thank all the presenters for giving their time to this, and to all of you who might be tuning in to watch this Hangout. All of our presenters have early access to Hangouts on Air, a technology that allows you to broadcast and record Hangouts. To watch any of the sessions today, simply go to the presenters Google Plus page at the appointed time. You can find a list of all of the sessions and links to presenters Google Plus pages on the conference website, which is sites.google.com/site/EduOnAir. Again, that's sites.google.com/site/EduOnAir. I'll go ahead and introduce Jessa. Jessa Ellenburg earned a degree in civil engineering at the University of Colorado and spent 6 years assisting in the design of complex bridges throughout the United States, including bridges in California, Colorado, Florida, Pennsylvania, and the new Tacoma Narrows Suspension Bridge near Seattle, Washington. As an engineer, she was active in K-12 outreach by involving students in current engineering projects and related career possibilities. Thereafter, she worked at the University of Colorado as the outreach coordinator for the George E. Brown Jr. Network for Earthquake Engineering Simulation, a national organization of laboratories dedicated to studying the effects of earthquakes on bridges, buildings, dams, and other structures. Jessa is now focused entirely on her passion for education and the environment as the Director of Educational Outreach for 2B Technologies in Boulder, Colorado, where she is developing the global ozone, also known as the GO3 Project. She is a registered professional engineer and lead accredited professional. We'll let you take it away, Jessa.
Thank you so much, Allison. I really appreciate it, and thank you, everyone, for joining. First of all, I just wanted to let you guys know you're welcome to post questions, comments, suggestions. We love feedback and encourage feedback, so anything you want to share, I'd love to hear from you. What I'm going to do is share my screen with you and take you for a little tour of all the things that, or some of the things that we use Google Earth to visualize air pollution data. So I'll kind of take you through our project and some of the project resources, how we have integrated Google Earth into our project as a very integral piece of student involvement in air pollution data collection. And I will pause after at intervals during the presentation so that you can interject with comments and questions. So let's get started. So you will see my screen now, and we'll start the presentation. Okay. So just a quick history of the Global Ozone Project, or GO3 Project. In January of 2010, just about 3.5 years ago, Estes Park became the first GO3 school in the world. Estes Park High is in Estes Park, Colorado, which is right next to Rocky Mountain National Park. So it was a great location for air pollution measurements. So they became the first school in 2010, and what that means is they received the equipment that you see on the left. It's an air pollution monitor with a weather station and a computer. And what happens is when they have the computer connected to the internet and the ozone monitor connected to the computer, their data are automatically uploaded every 15 minutes and posted to Google Earth. So it's really neat. The students are able to see their data and visualize their data on Google Earth instead of it just kind of being a black hole or their own individual project. They're part of a worldwide network then of schools posting data to Google Earth. So it's really exciting for them to be a part of this worldwide effort. And how this whole project came about, let me step back for a second. the director of the project, Dr. John Burks, is an atmospheric chemist. And he has been distributing air pollution monitors to scientists around the world for about 10 years now, pollution monitors that he developed at the University of Colorado while he was a professor. So 3 years ago, when he hired me, he said, Jessa, we really need to get students involved in scientific research regarding air pollution. You know, they're our future. They're going to be the next, you know, air pollution scientists and policymakers. So let's really get them involved and collecting data and empower them to join the conversation. So that's how the project started. He had always envisioned the data being collected and uploaded to Google Earth. So that's what we created, and I'm gonna go over really quickly. One of the pollutants that we measure right now, one of the main pollutants that we measure is ground level ozone. So just a really basic crash course in ground level ozone. Ozone is good up high and bad nearby is what we say. So there's the ozone layer up in the stratosphere that protects us from harmful UV radiation. And then there's bad ozone or ground level ozone in the air that we breathe that's created by a reaction between NOx, oxides of nitrogen, VOCs, and sunlight. So those are the general ingredients. There's a carbon source, carbon monoxide, methane, or VOCs, plus oxides of nitrogen and sunlight creates ground level ozone. So that's what we are measuring currently in the Global Ozone Project. Let me just come out of the presentation really quickly here. So I think I might be moving a little bit quickly. Are there any questions thus far on kind of the creation of the project or the basics of ground level ozone? Allison, Tina, no?
Doesn't look like so far.
Okay, great. So with that, ground level ozone is something that Dr. Burks studied quite extensively during his time at the University of Colorado. And it turns out that ground level ozone is a good indicator of general air pollution levels. So without trying to measure everything, we have focused on ground level ozone and as a pretty good indicator of, as I said, general air pollution levels. So let me show you this slide. This is a slide of all the schools in the world so far that have monitoring stations. So the little greenhouses are schools that have instrumentation set up and are uploading data. And then the red little houses are schools that are wanting to be involved, but funding is an issue. So we're really trying to work with them to find solutions to their funding needs as far as the instrumentation goes. So now I'm going to transition into showing you the Google Earth file of the student collected data. So I'm going to show you how to get this file so that you can get it yourself if you would like to view it or work on it with your students. So GO3Project.com is the website for the project, GO3Project.com. And what you'll do to find the student collected data on Google Earth is go to GO3 Data, and then it will bring up this Query the Ozone database box. So you'll select a date to display, and you can either click on Get GO3, which gets only student collected data, or Get Air Now, which actually displays all the EPA data collected in the United States. So I'll show you both of those files, but we'll look at GO3 right now. So what I want to show you is today's date and the current measurements, and when I click on Get GO3, it prompts me to open a Google Earth file. So I've already opened that file for you, and this is what it looks like. So if you tip the Earth a little bit, you can see that the height of the bar and the color of the bar at each school represents the level of ozone that they are currently measuring. So if we scroll in over here at these schools in Wyoming, we can compare their colors to this color schematic at the bottom that tells us a little bit about what their ozone levels mean. So this is, again, this is ground level ozone, and an important pollutant to measure and track. It has a number of health effects, including cause of asthma attacks and lung disorders, as well as it affects crops negatively and is a strong greenhouse gas. So it's definitely something that we are interested in measuring, as well as the United States EPA, which is the Environmental Protection Agency. So you can click on any individual school and see that currently Pinedale High School is measuring 65.5 parts per billion. That's what we measure ozone in, is parts per billion. So you can see maximums, the time that the maximum was measured, an 8-hour average, and their most recent reading and what time it was measured at. So this is a great snapshot of worldwide ozone levels at any given time. So you can see, we have a little high ozone in Pinedale, and then I'm going to go run over to Spain, and interestingly today they have quite a high ozone reading that they've posted. Bear with me. Spain, where are you? There you are. So let me reorient here and do a little tilting. So in Madrid, Spain, they're getting 82.2 parts per billion, which you can see on the scale is beginning to get into the unhealthy for sensitive groups. So Madrid does have quite a summertime ozone issue, which we also do here in Boulder, Colorado, interestingly enough. And then I'm going to come over here to China. We have a few stations in China, and here they are. They are reporting pretty low ozone levels. I believe that it's in the middle of the night for them over there. So knowing what we know about the formation of ground level ozone, as I mentioned, sunlight is an ingredient of ground level ozone. It makes sense that they have pretty low levels during the nighttime because there's no sunlight to create the ground level ozone. So that's kind of one thing that your students can think about when they're looking at this snapshot is what time of day is it in this location, and does it make sense if the readings should be high or low. So I'm going to pause there again and ask if there are any questions so far.
Yes, someone is asking, well, first of all, they're saying they love this idea, which, of course, it is a wonderful project, and they're wondering what the cost is for the instruments.
Okay, great. That's a great question. The cost for a school is $5,000 for the entire package, which is the computer, the ozone monitor, the weather station. And I'll get into it a little bit more later, but we use a very accurate ozone monitor where the students are making measurements that are actually uploaded to the US EPA. They're extremely accurate and valuable measurements. So we chose to use a sophisticated instrument for this project. So I will talk a little bit later about one of our newest funding ideas for schools. What we had done traditionally is to find corporate sponsors for schools, and after finding 80 schools corporate sponsors, which we were so excited about, 500 schools signed up. So we kind of had the good problem of a lot of interest and then unfortunately not enough funding. So I'll talk a little bit later on in my presentation about a new technique that we're thinking might help students and teachers fundraise for the instrumentation at their schools. So hang on to that question. And then do we have another one?
I just wanted to mention, maybe you'll get into this later too, just, you know, the significance that this data is given to the EPA and how significant this project is on a global scale. That I think that the truth is, right, that these schools are collecting more ground level ozone data than the EPA is, right, in places where the EPA is not collecting data. And so, my gosh, you know, what a project. And also just the significance of being able to visualize that data in a way that people can digest is really important, because traditionally scientific data can be hard for people who are non-scientists. So just wanted to put that out there.
Yeah, that's a great point, Allison. I think I might be, oh, I'm unfrozen now. That is a great point. It's this data is some of the first data to come out of any of these countries in the history of the world. So I hovered over I didn't stop on Africa, but there are stations in Ghana, and there will be soon a station in Cameroon. We don't really know if ozone has ever even been measured in those countries, much less the data shared with the world. So the international impact is absolutely huge, and of course, as you can imagine, data coming out of China is few and far between, probably. So then, you know, moving to the significance in the United States, in the state of Colorado, there are more student-run stations by almost 2.5 times than there are Colorado Department of Public Health and the Environment stations. Yeah. So that's a great point, Allison. It's a really incredible achievement that these students have been able, and teachers have been able to come together and do something that the department has been doing for a long time. Mm. So that's really significant, and the data about a year ago was started to be transmitted to the US EPA through the Air Now program, which I'll touch on a little bit later. And what they can do with that data is actually improve their forecasts and maps. So their air pollution forecasts are really important to people, especially with asthma, who can predict on, you know, tomorrow I need to be aware of not having recess outdoors, or whatever the case may be. So that really helps these forecasts and maps be accurate for a greater number of people and greater areas. So that's absolutely huge, and it's the first citizen, quote-unquote, citizen science project that they've ever worked with. So it's really exciting, and I appreciate you bringing that up.
One other just quick comment that someone made that I think is really worth just giving just a quick mention is that she's saying that we could also have kids place this idea on Kickstarter.com. So, you know, there are lots of ways to fund projects, and that is a great site, you know, to fund a project. So just to get that out there, and I'll let you continue on now with your presentation.
Absolutely. I think that's a wonderful idea that's been thrown out to me a couple times. And I would love to work with any school in any way that I can to help them do funding in that way, or any, you know, I'm open to any and all ideas, especially for funding. So that's a great one. Okay, so I'm going to go back to my screen share really quickly, share a couple more files with you, and then we'll go into a little bit more detail on the project website itself. Okay, so I shared with you the Get GO3 button. I also wanted to share with you the Get Air Now button, so you can kind of get a feeling for the number of EPA stations and what kind of data they report. So again, I've already downloaded that file. It'll prompt you to open it. I've already opened it for the sake of time. Now let me turn off our student collected data really quickly. Let me get back to, sorry, bear with me. Get back to the US. And so I'll turn on the Air Now data. Okay, so the labels make it a little bit hard to see, but you can see the triangular columns. Let me tip a little so you can see their height in 3D. So this is the data that was reported from the EPA to the EPA from states and local organizations. All the air monitoring in the United States is done on a state-by-state basis. So it kind of looks like there's good coverage, especially in the East Coast, but when you zoom in, you can see that there are large areas of entire states with no data being reported. So that's really where the students come in, where their power can be seen, is filling in those gaps for the EPA, which is also really important in the maps and forecasts as we discussed before. So again, on this map, you can click on the columns. This is in Shenandoah National Park. They're reporting 81 parts per billion on this day, which I believe is July 11th of last year. So this is also kind of a high, you can see a high ozone day in the East Coast up here. But it's really interesting, if there's a station nearby you, it's really interesting to be able to compare the EPA data to the data that you collect. And this will be interesting for your students, I think, anyway, to kind of track the trends of ozone concentrations throughout the United States in the different seasons, during the day, during the morning, during the night, all that good stuff. So as you can see, the Midwest, pretty poor coverage in the Midwest, so that's something that we can really, I think, make a huge impact in the Midwest in particular. So I'm just going to pause again, Allison, or do we anything to interject?
No comments to interject. Well, somebody did ask about whether you're planning on doing anything with instrumentation to measure water quality in the future.
Oh, that's a great question. Not yet. We would like to. We would like to in the future. We're thinking we'll measure just about everything. So that is definitely coming down the pipeline in the future. And then one thing I'll talk about a little bit more later on, but we just added CO2 and black carbon to the pollutants that the students can measure.
Very cool. And wanted to make a comment about it's great to see the data and that students are actively the ones collecting that data. But the even more exciting part that I know about this whole project is that, you know, there's sister schools that communicate with each other, and that it starts a conversation among students about why their communities are having, you know, a high level ozone readings and what they can do about it. So it's not just collecting the data, but it's becoming proactive in understanding that you can have an impact, you know, on your community. So really good stuff for kids to know, right?
Yeah, that's a great point, and I wanted to kind of, when we're done with the data portion of it, wanted to look at the social network and show you some of the interactions the kids have been having on the social network. Of course, with any type of global project, you really want to create a place for everyone to come together. So that's the social network, and I'll show you some of the things the students have been doing, which have just absolutely knocked our socks off. So that'll be a really fun place to wrap up, I think, checking out all those interactions. And you're right, Allison, we have a sister school program where most of the U.S. schools are linked to sister schools, and that has been an incredible connection. So I will definitely go over that later on, definitely. Okay, so let me share my screen one more time. I have one more file to show you. I'm just sort of giving you a taste for the type of air pollution files you can look at in Google Earth. I'm going to give you one more little taste of it, and then we'll go on to some of the specifics about the project. So I'm going to turn that file off and come over to, all right, so back to the GO3 Project web page. When I click on Home and go to the Global Ozone Project, this brings me into the ozone part of the site. So what I can do is click on Ozone Curriculum, and that will pull up downloadable curriculum. So this is a complete curriculum for the project, 159 slides. It goes into quite a bit of detail, so you can kind of pick and choose what you want to look at. It's a very rigorous curriculum that I think is really, really fascinating. I think your students will really enjoy it. There's also a Moodle online course. It's all in an online course as well. And then I wanted to point out the Activities tab. So we have posted 3 activities, and we're developing a lot more over the summer. But this one right here, State of the Air in U.S. Cities, this uses a Google Earth file created by the U.S. EPA. And so I'm going to focus a little bit in on that file, but I wanted to make sure that you know you can find this file and how to download it and how to use it by downloading this activity on the GO3 Project website. Of course, you can always contact me through the social network or through our website, and I can help you find this again. So I just wanted to point that out. Now, in that file, it will have the link to this site. So this is, again, from the EPA, and this is a really, really cool, such an interesting file for you and your students to look at. I personally just play around with it for hours. I think it's so interesting. What I've done is click on top NOx emitting sectors. So for ozone, we're particularly interested in the types of sources of NOx and CO and VOCs. So those are the ingredients, as I mentioned, of ground level ozone. So those are what we tend to focus on, but the other ones are really interesting as well. So I clicked on top NOx emitting sectors and got this file, which I'll show you. It'll bring up this file, and then in the navigation window, you'll see all NOx facilities, and then electric generation via, and that says, I think it says combustion. So these are all the point sources of NOx in the United States that are regulated by the U.S. EPA. So you can see power plants, pulp and paper plants, Portland cement manufacturers, pipelines, airports, all the major sources of air pollution, including NOx in the United States. So one thing I'll focus on is power plants. I think that's really interesting. So you can click on power plants, and you'll see all the little blue dots show up. Now, when you tip the Earth, you'll start to see that they do have actual 3D heights. The height actually corresponds with their level of pollution. So the higher the bar, the more they pollute. So you can see a pretty high concentration of power plants in in the southeastern United States. And what you can do is you can click on one of them, and you can see the breakdown of what types and how much of air pollution they emit in a year. So this was for 2008. So you can see a lot of NOx, 30,000 tons of NOx. And what it's really interesting to compare these values with other power plants. Like sometimes you can tell if a power plant doesn't have a great sulfur dioxide scrubber on it, because this number will be huge, but this number will be about the same as a different power plant. So you can deduce some really interesting things from this file. And what I have the students doing with these files is I have them being appointed mayors of different U.S. cities. And their job is, their city is out of compliance with the U.S. EPA for ozone. So their job is to figure out how to reduce ground level ozone in their city. And one of the main components of being able to do this is to be able to identify the sources of ozone precursors in your community. So anything upwind of you will definitely contribute to your ground level ozone. So I have students looking at this file to determine, you know, okay, we're going to need to go over to Cumberland Fossil Plant and talk to them about their NOx emissions and if there's anything they can do to reduce those. So this is a really great tool, I think, for visualizing point source data. It's just also interesting, like if you check off power plants and you check on airports, I was shocked to know how many airports there are in the United States. And it's going to take a minute to load, but there are so many. So it's just really, really an interesting thing to look at. So check those out in the activities section of the website. Okay, Allison, I'll do another little pause here. Anything we need to talk about?
Actually, Jessa, this is Tina. I have a couple of questions.
We good?
So for the curriculum that you have created, yeah. So for the curriculum that you, or that's available, is that, can you tell us the grade levels that's meant for?
Yeah, that's a great question. So it's mainly geared towards high schools, since most of our schools are high schools. But you'll see in the social network, I'll point out a couple of teachers have posted, have kind of scaled it down for middle school. So I can show you where that is. And we hope to scale it down for elementary students as well. But at this time, since we got so many high schools involved, we created it for that level.
Great. And the other question I have is about how long does it take for a school to get the unit once they've signed on to be part of the project?
Well, so, you know, in the past, since they were signing on to have us help them find a corporate sponsor, it took a long, you know, for some schools it's taking a long time. They signed up over a year ago, and we've had a hard time finding corporate sponsors. So, so what I'm going to talk about a little later is a recommendation for how a school can get involved much more quickly than that. As we, you know, the years went by and we learned what types of funding strategies work and don't work, I think we're kind of going down the road, the correct road now, where I think schools can empower themselves to find the funding with. I'll go into that a little bit later, but that's a really good question, and we're hoping to shorten that time significantly.
And you're also, I'm sure that you'll probably touch on this later too, but you also have other far less expensive kits for collecting other types of pollution data, correct? That will be coming soon, so that would be great to mention too, because it's not nearly as, you know, as expensive as the ozone level kit. Yeah,
that's right. We just added CO2, which is $2,500, and then black carbon's only $375. So that's absolutely doable which is, I mean, black carbon is a great thing to measure. I think the students would really enjoy the visual aspect of it. They actually collect black carbon on a particle filter, and you kind of see visually what's in your air, what are you breathing, and then you quantify that in micrograms per meter cubed. So all of those are wonderful things to measure, and you know, if a school wants to start getting involved with black carbon, that is a great place to start.
And do you think that those will be visualized, those levels in Google Earth as well? Do you expect that? Or?
Absolutely.
Great.
Those things will be visualized in Google Earth. Yeah, definitely. Okay, great. So I'm going to share my screen again really quickly, and I'm going to go back now to the GO3 Project website and show you a couple things there. So, so the schools tab is where we had traditionally had people sign up. So since we're talking about the funding right now, we'll go right to this. So this is where we had schools sign up, and then as you can see, there are a lot of schools signed up. So we were mainly helping schools find sponsors. Then we were also posting materials for them to be able to write grants. But since teachers are so busy, that wasn't working as well. And then as far as like with the economic situation right now, it was pretty difficult to find corporate sponsors. So what we did is we created greenfundraiser.org. This is in the last couple of months we just launched this. So let me go there. So there are 3 different fundraisers that you can do at your school that involve, you know, helping the community, helping green the community, and help the environment at the same time raising money for your school. So you know how in traditional fundraisers, about half of your profits typically go to like a lollipop company or a cookie dough company. So what we do is your school keeps about 60% of what you collect, and then the 40% that normally would just be gone to a for-profit company, that comes to us, and we use that towards the purchase of your instrumentation. So it's really a win-win when your school's raising money for whatever projects it needs to do, plus the instrumentation, the funds for the instrumentation. So this is really exciting. We've gotten so much positive feedback on this, and a lot of orders, which the schools still have yet to complete the fundraiser, but we've gotten a lot of orders, which is really exciting. So the most popular fundraiser has been the plastic bag-a-thon. So that involves students going out into the community, and it's basically like a jog-a-thon where you go out to, let's say, your neighbor and say, hey, will you sponsor me for 5, 10, or 20 cents per plastic bag that I collect? And so they go and collect as many bags as they can and come back to their sponsor and say, okay, I collected 200 bags, and you said you'd give me 5 cents a bag, so you owe me X dollars. And they do this for multiple sponsors, and we've found that that the community really gets behind this. They recycle enough bags to fill a classroom sometimes, and actually collect a lot of money. So this is really exciting. We're thinking in the fall this is really going to take off. So this is something that your school can do to benefit your school and raise the money for the instrumentation at the same time. So I definitely want to point that out as our newest strategy for helping schools get the instrumentation.
That's an awesome idea with fundraising, Jessa.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
Out there. new and more environmentally friendly way of, yeah.
Yeah, I totally agree, and not to go into the details on the other ones, but there's the pledge-a-thon where students pledge to do environmental tasks that reduce air pollution. Like you can get $1 for turning off unused lights in your house for a day, and then environmental decals promoting environmental awareness. So these are all centered on the environment and student learning. So the pledge-a-thon especially goes over the small tasks that students can do to reduce air pollution in their community, while getting support from the community for their efforts financially. So I think it's a really fun. There are some really fun options, and I'm hoping that schools have a lot of success with these, and it'll be a great way to get them the instrumentation. So I'll pause for a second. Any questions on the green fundraiser?
I don't think so. We put the link in the comments, so people can click on that to get more details.
Okay, perfect, perfect. So I wanted to point that out. And then GO3 data, we went there, but I want to briefly mention that in addition to the Google Earth visualization of the data, you can also graph data from any school. So the Google Earth gives a great snapshot of global levels. And I think in the future we're going to integrate some graphing on Google Earth itself. But for now, you can go into the Graph GO3 data, show available schools, and then you can page through all the different schools that are in the network. And you select a school, and then you can select a date range. So we can say a start date of a few days ago, and then an end date of today. And we're going to do a graph, but you can also get it in the form of a list and an Excel file if you want to manipulate the data yourself. Confirms our selections. I'm going to look at just ozone to make it simple. A scatter plot and valid data only. Click on plot it. And then you can see the day to night trends of ozone, where it peaks during the day and falls off during the night. This is actually in Wyoming, where they have this funny phenomenon where they never actually quite go to zero at night, which is sort of interesting and something that scientists don't exactly know what's going on there. But I'll show you really quickly Jakarta, Indonesia, because that definitely goes to zero at night. And that has been they've gotten some of the highest levels we've seen. So let's do a month of Jakarta. And it's just so fascinating to see these graphs from all over the world in such an, uh-oh, that didn't work. Let's see. Let me select a different date range. Let's go. Okay, there you can see the peaks during the day and the levels going to zero at night. You can see in this case they got up to about 80 parts per billion, but we saw them get up to almost 200 during their measurement time period, so that was really interesting. Another thing that we make use of in our activities are the monthly graphs. So these are monthly summaries for every station in the network. So you might want to check these out and do the activity with your students where they actually identify the location with the peak ozone for that time period, and then they research that location to see why they might have so much ozone. And then I promised to go to the social network. So these contests just closed. The contests were for most friends, most creative web page, environmental video, blog, artwork, and photo. and we got some amazing entries. The videos are fascinating. The blogs are amazing. The artwork is incredible. You should definitely check those out. It's so fun to see what the students are thinking about and some of the things that are on their minds. So you can see these blog entries, and what some teachers do with sister schools is they'll have students post blogs. So like, for example, the students in Brazil posted blogs, and then the students in Arizona commented on all their blogs. So they assigned, two students to post comments on each other's blogs. And so that was a really amazing discussion between students from different countries, and it was incredible to see how interested and polite and what wonderful conversations they had. So I felt like a proud mother where the social network was actually working in the way that we had always envisioned it to work. So I definitely encourage you to check out the social network. We have a bunch of different groups. One of the things I promised to mention was where the curriculum for middle schools is posted. That is in the teachers group, which, let's see, is right. It's in one of the, here, the teachers group, and I probably won't be able to see the content because I'm not logged in. But there is a lot posted in there, which will also be migrated over to the curriculum and activities page so that you can find it easily. But any teacher or student that wants to participate in this network and get involved in the contests for next semester, I definitely welcome you to do that. So it looks like we're about 2 minutes from closing. Is that correct, Allison?
I think so. Is it supposed to go till 11:50, Tina? Is that correct? Great. Yeah, 2 minutes. There was just one more question that in the comments about where they can find the link to the EPA site that you were showing earlier.
Absolutely. Let me actually, I'll post that. Let's see. I'll post that on the comments.
Okay.
But also, it's posted forever on the GO3. Oh wait, sorry. Let me share my screen. On the GO3 Project website, under Global Ozone Project, and then Ozone Curriculum, and in activities, that's the activity number 3, State of the Air in the U.S. Cities. So I will post this link after we wrap up.
Great. Awesome. Do you have any more that you wanted to talk about or show, or?
Let's see. I think I covered most everything here. I could show. Let me show you really quickly. airnow.gov. That's where the student collected data goes, and it's a really interesting page where you can get air pollution forecasts, updates. You can also sign up for EnviroFlash, which is air quality alerts to your email. I highly suggest that. I get them all the time, and I think it's very good to know when high pollution days are happening, so that I can bike to work and maybe not do rigorous exercise in the afternoon and stuff like that. So that's another place that another resource. But all of this, again, should be compiled on the GO3 Project site, and I'm always available on the social network for any questions. If anybody needs anything, I'm here.
Wonderful. Great, great, great stuff. And I'm excited that teachers everywhere are going to be able to be turned on to this because it's being recorded and can be watched over and over again. But thank you so much, Jessa. for agreeing to participate in the first ever Education on Air event with Google. And thanks to everybody who's on the Hangout and who was watching the live stream. And you'll be able to go back and view this again pretty soon. So if you missed any information, you can recapture it. So any other ending comments or questions from anyone?
Thank you, Jessa. Great job. Very informative.
Thank you both so much. Thank you both so much. It was such a pleasure. All this stuff I find so exciting and interesting, and I encourage everyone to get involved. And if you feel like you don't know how you can get involved, or the funding situation seems daunting, I mean, just contact me. You know, we'll work together. Where there's a will, there's a way. We'll figure everything out. I'll take you through everything step by step. So I really encourage you to contact me if you're interested in this project.
Awesome. All right, we'll sign off and see you on the other side.
All right, bye guys.
Thanks again.